Welcome. Welcome to Painting with Megan. I am your host this evening, and this is what we're painting. I'll just leave that up here. I think you guys just got notified. Awesome. Hey, welcome. So this is the photograph that I have chosen to use tonight as a reference to share with you guys how I even take a photograph and paint it. How do I know where to begin? What do I do? Etc. So there's quite a bit to know about it, but I'm also going to break it down tonight in fun, easy steps. And the nice thing about photographs is you can add or take away, so that's always awesome too. I don't know what to expect from myself as I create tonight. I usually just have a photo reference and I add my own like personal touch to it. So I'm just gonna go with it tonight, go with that flow and just see what happens. So we're gonna work through it together. So that's really exciting. So thanks for being here. Oh, welcome your first time. Very cool. Anybody else's first time here? So if you're new, I have a lot of videos in my video section. I've been doing these Facebook Lives now and will continue to do them once a month. And I've been doing that since 2020. So I just love coming on, interacting with everybody, seeing everyone virtually anyways, and painting with you. So, first time too, awesome, welcome. So I'm just gonna get a new piece of tape. So, I'll go over the colors with you guys. I'm using acrylic paints. I have a 12 by 12 canvas here tonight. You can use any size, it's totally up to you. I'm going to be using white, black, blue, yellow, and red, just the basic primary colors. You're welcome to take out some green and brown if you choose so. And I'll show you the brushes in a moment. Just getting some new tape. That way I can put my picture up here above me so I can use it as a reference. So hopefully you guys can see that okay. There is a lot of dark here in the front, so I might brighten that up as I go along. Like I said, I like to kind of add my own like custom touch to it. And a little backstory about this photo is it's from Muskokas. I went up to Arrowhead Provincial Park maybe like 2-3 years ago now. So this is the picture that I was going to use. And do we have a picture or can we follow yours? Oh yeah, you can totally follow me, or if you feel guided to just, you know, be here with us and paint your own picture from home, feel free. Tonight my goal is to show you how I break down a photograph into a painting. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. Thank you for asking. So I use Liquitex Basic brand, usually for like my lives. So this type of paint is great because it's like not too thin and not too thick, but it's not a requirement. So don't worry if you don't have it, just for future reference. And like I said, I have blue, primary blue it says, cadmium yellow, can be just regular yellow or cadmium red. So any colors along those lines are great. With the 3 primaries, you can make anything. So, and as for brushes, I have just a variety. So I have this kind of old brush here that's pretty frailed. If you have something like that, get it out. This works nice for making trees. I have a round tip brush, just anything that's smaller to make some details. And then I just have like a variety of like filberts, which are these kind of rounded edges. And then a flat brush and a bigger filbert brush. So a good variety is awesome. And I have a paper plate. And a paper towel. I'm not playing music because I just can't get it to work. So feel free to have your own tunes or whatever in the background. And yeah, we'll go ahead and just get started in just a moment. I'm just gonna have a sip of water. I also have water out, and I'm using water bottles so that I don't dip my brush into my water. So, okay. So anyways, how I start to paint a photograph is, for one, I choose a photograph that inspires me, because that really does help to motivate you to create that, okay? Something that spoke to you. So like I was saying, this is from Muskokas. I was camping. We found this like beautiful lookout point when we were hiking. So it was just awesome. So that's the inspiration behind that tonight. And when I get started with any painting, I always prime my canvas with some white paint. So we're going to go ahead and get that going, and then I'll talk more about the process. So I have white paint. We're just going to get out either a flat brush or a filbert brush, flat filbert, and put white out on your paper plate. I have to get some more paint on. Okay. I'm going to use the flat one for now. So I'm going to get out this one. I'm going to wet my brush and then dip it into white paint. Okay. And I'm putting on a fair bit of paint here. As you can see, it's not just a tiny little bit. This is because I want this to stay wet. It's easier to work with blending, because after I apply this white, we're going to go back and forth here, white to the whole thing. I look at the background first before anything in the foreground, of course. So I can see there's blue and there's like a grayish blue here. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm not really looking at the clouds right now or this back like strip and not there, just the very far background. So I'm going to go back and forth on my canvas. And then this is practicing blending as well, because this is the same motion that we're going to do from one side all the way to the other side. And just back and forth until it looks nice and smooth. So I'm just dipping in more white again. So for those of you who are new, welcome, and those who have been watching me for a long time, welcome back. I'm just so excited to be here tonight. It's my first time like teaching from a photo live, because that's usually how I do my paintings. I just take a photograph or sometimes multiple photographs and combine them and make them into my own. And then I do commissions for people too. So right now I am working on one that is a sunset, and it's a sunset over a farm. And they had moved, so now I'm painting that for them so that way they can still have that like memory of their backyard view. So I'm very thankful for that. I love painting from photographs. Hi. So I'm still going here. I'm about halfway. I'm putting it on thickly. I like to paint with music, but I couldn't get it to work. Oops. I'm already splashing paint on myself. I have a lot of paint clothes because I usually forget to change before painting and then end up getting paint on them. So I think I have more clothes that are covered in paint versus having regular clothes. Paige says starting soon. Like the event. So I'm just still going back and forth here. There we go. I kind of went up there just to smoothen it. This also I find hardens the canvas. Sometimes you can get a canvas that maybe doesn't feel as like stiff or sturdy. By applying white as well, it also helps with sturdying out that canvas. I find it helps the paint set easier, and I also find that it helps with blending. So that's the reason why I paint it with white. Start recap. All I'm doing is painting this 12 by 12 canvas here with just white thickly, so then I can stay wet for when I apply the next colors. And I'm just going from one side to the other, just back and forth. And I'm using this picture as a reference. It won't be exact, that's for sure, but I usually customize the photo. I may add or take away something from this. I'm just gonna go with it tonight and see what happens. I'm running out of white. I have more though. Okay, so I'm just gonna finish putting some at the bottom here. Just back and forth. You may be done, maybe you're not. Okay. There is going to be a recording of this as soon as it's done, and I won't be taking it down, so you can still view it at any time later on, even if you aren't able to stay or if you're just kind of tuning in to watch. Okay, so I think I've covered this whole thing in white. It looks nice and shiny and smooth. My canvas looks like it's hardening a little bit, which is awesome. So make sure you just kind of look at it and just go back and forth over it just to make sure it is smooth and that there's no like bumps or anything like that, because that's going to harden and then stay into your painting. Oh, hi, Anne, you made it. Oh, you're welcome. Yes, please let me know if you have questions along the way. And as we go to, I look for like hearts or thumbs up, and that helps me to know where everybody's at. We're all going to be at different stages with this as we go along, and that's okay. This, what I would say, is like, it's everything I do is beginner friendly because I am giving a lot of instruction, but this is, I would say it's like a medium level, but I believe in you all, so don't worry. There's no, I feel like, you know, the levels, like where they're like a beginner level or intermediate or whatever, I feel like we can all do it, you know, that there is no level. Okay, so anyways, I'm not going to clean this brush off. I'm just going to leave it with white. If you've already cleaned it, don't worry about it. You can just put more white. The only reason I'm not cleaning it is because I'm going to get out some blue now. So now I'm looking at this far away distant part. I'm looking at the blue, and I'm also starting to think about the water. So I'm kind of, we're gonna put blue all on the top half, okay? So imagine this is the canvas, of course. And this top half from here up is going to be blue, and then we're gonna add like some grayish blue down here. It looks like it's grayish blue, okay? And that's what I'm gonna focus on, because we need something in the very far background before we can even apply clouds and other details, of course. So that's kind of like my thought process right now. Just gonna share my thought process with you guys too as we go, as this is my first time teaching it. I've done it many times, but haven't like talked about it out loud. So it's new for me too. Okay, so let's get out some blue. Just putting a little bit of blue out on two spots actually, because we're gonna make one will just be a blue plus white, which is already white on here, and it still should be wet. If it's not, that's fine, just add a little white to it. Then this second part blue here that we have on the palette, we're gonna be making a grayish blue with that later. So first we'll just start with the sky. So I still have that brush here. I'm just going to wet it a little bit and just tap it once on my napkin so it's not dripping with water. And then I'm going to kind of just take this blue and add it into whatever white I have left on my palette. Okay, just making a nice sky blue. And I'm getting both sides of my brush. Okay, so now I'm gonna think about where my halfway point is. So I'm gonna say, okay, so I usually use my brush to mark it out. So about half. And then I'm imagining this is the half, and then a little bit below here is the water. So yeah, that makes sense for me to put it about halfway. Okay, so I'm just gonna make my way across. I don't even have to worry about a super straight line, which is kind of nice because there is this like distant island or streamline of trees back here that can help take away from a perfect straight line. So it's kind of nice. You don't have to worry too much about that. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go on it again, just make sure I've had it all. Okay, and then down below, I'll just kind of smoothen any edges with it. And I mean by edges is like anything that looked rough. Okay, this is the water later. So now from this line up to the top, we're gonna paint it all with light blue. Okay, and you're gonna be going back and forth with this to make it as smooth as you can. You may have to mix up more paint. You might need to add white to your blue as you go along. So just take your time, go back and forth. So as I go back and forth, I like to push a little bit into my canvas, but not too much because you'll dent it, of course. But as you paint, sometimes you can see there's like these like holes in the canvas. So I'm going to bring it closer and show you. Oops. Oh, there's a little piece of paint. Okay, so let's bring it closer for you to see. So when I'm pushing a little bit into the canvas, see how smooth it gets? Whereas over here, it's like a little bit see-through and there's a couple holes. If I kind of change my brush direction time to time, so I can use this edge of it, like right on the edge of this brush, or I can use it flat and push, and that helps to get any lines. As well as those little see-through spots. Okay, see how smooth that is? That way you can avoid having to do a second coat. I mean, if you do, you do, and that's just how I prevent it. So, and then time to time I put a little water and stir it in with my paint. So I just dip in water and stir it in. It's another tip that I do just to help with the blending process because water helps to blend and soften. So you can do that too. See how I continuously go back and forth over it, even on the areas I've already done, and just keep blending it upwards towards the top because that's going to make it look super smooth. I need some more whites. I'm gonna mix up some paint. I see a thumbs up. Are you done already? You guys are fast. That's a little too white, but that's fine. Variety in the color is great. There we go. It's okay if your sky has different colors of blue in it. If anything, that's more variety, so good. Just added a little bit of water to my paint again. I'm working on a 12 by 12, so I don't know if anybody else is. I am so excited for summer just so I can go out and do more hiking and see more trails and beaches and just take lots of photos, and I have lots of things to paint into all the following months. Now this top part up here is the most important part. Just make sure it is smooth because that is the part you're mostly going to see because there is a lot of clouds there. And we get to learn how to make clouds today, so that's exciting. Now, I have cloud days where I'm like awesome at clouds, and then there's times where I like suck at clouds. So I feel like that's a thing where you can be in like a cloud, like the clouds will work for you, and sometimes they won't. But I'm hoping today's a cloud day for me. I've made clouds lots of times, so it's just interesting how that happens. I don't know if that's happened to anybody else who paints. There we go. So I got a nice thick painted blue background for the sky. Okay, so yeah, let me know where you guys are at with that. If there's any questions so far. Just smoothing out this line. Might as well make it as straight as I can, even though it doesn't overly matter. I just have OCD. Okay. You can paint your edges too. I just kind of touch up just the top of them, just so it's easier. Usually I paint my edges black, so if I can get all the edges on just the little corners, that helps me for painting it black later. What I mean by edges is just on the side. See how it went over just a little bit, wrapped around, and it makes it easier for me to cover this in black later. I have a thick canvas tonight, 1-inch canvas. You're from Texas? That's awesome. I'm in Ontario. Okay, so I'm still not going to clean my brush because we're still going to be working with blue and white, but we're going to make a grayish blue now. So we will need white, blue, and a little bit of black on the plate. Don't mind me, I just have to get some white out. Okay. A little bit of, sorry, blue. That blue we put out earlier, some white. Oh, cool. Lots of people from Texas, Florida. All the places I want to go, I want to visit them. I know some people in Texas, and I know some people in Florida, so that's so cool. Okay, so grayish blue. Let me just adjust my lighting just a moment here, because I feel like the rain's gonna come here, so it kind of dimmed. Okay, I don't know if that made a difference, but we'll see. Georgia. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's hot. It's actually really hot here today. Oshawa. Oh, that's near me. Sort of. I'm in Listowel. Okay, so I'm gonna take this blue here, scoop it into my already pile here of light blue. Okay, and just taking some white, stirring that together, having light blue again. Okay, but then I want to just take like a tiny little bit of black, like a corner of it. See? And I'm just gonna stir it together. I just want something that's a little bit darker than the sky. So you can tell that's my sky color, and then now that's my kind of grayish blue color. Black can be very finicky, so just make sure even if you just put teeny tiny dots in at a time, because it can take over. Okay, I think I like this blue. You can add white to it, and sometimes that helps to make it pop out to see what your color actually is too. Okay, and I've covered both sides. So as long as your color is different than your sky, then that's great. Okay, so now we might as well just go all the way to the bottom. There is going to be bushes and stuff here later, but it's better to have some sort of color and base on the very background before even putting any sort of trees and stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. You can test it out on your canvas and see if it looks different than the color in your sky. Mine's looking a little different, but I'm thinking I might need to add a little bit more of a grayish blue. So I'm just playing here, making it up as I go. A little bit of black at a time. Okay, so that's looking different. I just added a little more black, maybe a little more blue. A little bit of black and blue kind of at intervals. Just looking for something different. Yeah, that's better. So I can tell when I put it on my canvas that it is different than the sky color. And that's the goal. Yes, I love watercolor and acrylics too. But I would definitely say that acrylics are my fave. I tried oil before and I didn't mind it, but maybe I just needed more lessons on it. Cause like I just found that it took a long time to dry and I didn't always like that. So, but oil is awesome too at the same time. So it's just a matter of getting to know it, getting to know the medium. I'm a self-taught artist, so I've just been learning as I go. I've been painting since I was like, I don't even know, like 5 or 6 years old. Finger painting, you know, that type of thing. And then I started getting into, I really love nature. And so I wanted, everywhere that I looked, I just saw like beauty everywhere. And I was like, I'm going to paint this and that and that. So that's kind of how that happened. And I also learned on YouTube, watching Bob Ross. So he's pretty awesome. He paints in oils, but I've just adapted to using his techniques with acrylics. So it's been a journey. I ran out of my color, so I'm just making it up again. There we go. So you can go to the bottom. Down here it can be a little lighter coated just because you won't see it, because that's going to be this bushy area, but it is better to have some sort of color under there at least. So we will fill that in. I always paint thick so that way I can avoid doing other coats. And that's kind of like with oils, you want it to be wet longer, so that's kind of how I adapted to using acrylics in like oils in a way. So that's like my main area of water. It's going to be more bold and focused looking here, and then down here kind of below is just going to be more of like this bushy area. You can add a little bit of water to your paint, stir it in time to time, and that does help it spread around. So I'm just making up some like grayish blue again. So it's basically it's gray plus blue. So you can make gray first and then add blue to it. But basically it's all three combined. Let me know if you needed help with that. Being online is definitely interesting because we're all like in different time zones in different parts of the world, and yet we're like all joining here together tonight or on the replay, like sharing this experience. I just think it's so cool. And all of us are all going to have like our own unique art because we all have our own styles, whether we know it or not. So I just love that about art. Okay, so I'm just going to put that on. I find like this, definitely acrylics dry fast, so I'm having to add water time to time, and I'm also taking my time going down because I'm putting it on a little bit thicker, so then I don't have to do any other coats to it. Saves yourself time. Plus sometimes it can be hard to remember, how did I even make that color? So this kind of helps prevent that too. So down here, I'm just kind of putting it more of a wash because it's going to be bushes and it doesn't have to be super thickly filled in as long as I don't see any white. That's all that matters. Okay. We have a background. Now the fun part of like decorating it, I call it. Adding in all those fun details. But we're gonna make that middle ground first. There, it's just fixing up this spot. Okay, so I'm just gonna clean off my brush just to get it refreshed because it hasn't been cleaned. So now what I want to do is just add a little bit of kind of just white shimmers, just a little bit in the water. because I can see some that are like, I'll bring it closer, that are kind of like just a little bit here and there, way back there. And there's like this little island part that's coming out, and then there's this background. So kind of focusing now on this, this, and this, because this is obviously up close, so we don't want to do that yet, because we won't be able to access this area. So we're going to be working on clouds, this like tree line and that little island, and just a little bit of white shimmers in the water. So that's going to be fun. Okay, yeah, this will be available to view again. So as soon as I'm done the live, it'll be up and posted in the video section. It's in like, so if you go to my main page, Painting with Megan, and go to the more area, click more, like the arrow, it'll point down, it'll say videos in this like row that comes up, and then that's where you can find all of the videos I've done. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so now I've cleaned off this brush. I'm still gonna use this one, the flat brush, just because I can use it to my advantage and make straighter flat lines for water shimmers. So I'm not going to put too many because it doesn't look like there's that many in the picture, but I just love water shimmers, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to focus on them kind of just in this main area. So now it's like the time where I have to think about lighting in this picture. So this day, like you can see, like it's kind of like a mix of sun and cloud, okay? So like the sun's kind of up here and it's like shining down, and it got a nice bright greens over here. It's kind of like lit up the clouds and just lit up this portion of the water. I don't even know, sorry, you probably couldn't even see that, but yeah, so it's brighter kind of all in the middle area. Basically, I imagine the sun or the light coming in like on an angle, so straight from top to bottom, and then just a bit on the angles. Okay, so we have to think about lighting too. Okay, so I have a little bit of white on this flat brush here. Okay, not too much, because then you're gonna get thick lines. So now we were painting thickly, but now I'm gonna not paint thick. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of make little taps. And I'll have to bring it closer for you. So I'm gonna try to hold my brush and do this without touching my paint. Okay, I got this. So I'm just gonna tap, and it kind of makes like these little water shimmers. Okay, see that? And I'm just using this brush, this flat brush, to my advantage because it's already straight, right? And just little taps. Sometimes you can drag it. I find that tapping is easier, especially if you break up the taps. Notice how I'm not making it all in the same row. Like you can have one in between. Makes it look a little more natural. And then maybe just a little bit more. Just looking at the photo. That one was too big, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna say that's good for now. Okay, one more little row. Okay. And then I'm just gonna clean that brush off. I just wanna soften this. So I've cleaned it off, dried it on my paper towel. Okay, so I'm just gonna use this brush that I cleaned off. It's dried on the paper towel, but it's not like completely dry. It's just a little bit damp, okay? All I'm gonna do now is just use the edge again of this brush. When I mean edge, I mean that part. And I'm just going to use the water on this brush to just kind of go back and forth, like in a little like kind of flicks, and just soften some of these water shimmers that maybe got too much. Like this one for me was like, no, it's too bold. So I'm just gonna pull it back in to the water. There we go. So something like that. I'm so sorry, I went out of my camera view. So sorry about that. I'm trying to balance it. Okay, so yeah, we'll start with that. We may add more in the water later. I mean, there's gonna be an island and stuff, but that's just kind of an area I wanted to focus on for now because it's kind of like in a valley, right? So I'm thinking of the middle because this area here is basically going to be covered with bush and tree, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Okay, so now, yeah, we're going to do clouds. So we're going to do clouds, and then that's when we'll tie in tree lines and this little island part up here. Okay, so I'm going to put this brush in the water, the flat one, because I'm going to get out a filbert brush. Okay, so something that looks like this. You want to make sure that your brush is feeling soft. Okay, not a hard brush, like nice and soft. You don't want to wet it either, okay? So just a dry brush that's soft, and we're going to use white, and we're going to make clouds. Okay? So all I'm doing is I'm just tapping into my white on both sides. Okay? Just make sure you don't have too much paint on there. Alrighty. So for clouds, there's a lot in here. I don't know if I'm going to make that many, because I do want to see some of my blue sky, but I'm just going to kind of go with it and see what happens. So with clouds, I usually tap where I want them, and then I do like circular motions while I'm pushing them around. So I'm thinking right now, like there's basically a cloud line that kind of goes up here, kind of like a dip in the sky where it's only showing a bit of the sky left. Oops. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go right here, and I'm just going to start tapping and pulling this paint, and I'm going gently as well. And I'm just going twirling around, kind of gently pushing in this cloud into the canvas. And I'm just looking at the top row of these clouds right now. They're going to be pretty dense clouds. And I just keep going until my paint runs out. I do go back to other areas with this cloud because that is what helps bring in some dark undertone. There. So that's kind of one section of a cloud. And there's a lot of them, so it's up to you how many you put. I'm just gonna keep going and see where I feel like stopping and just let the clouds come. So I just tapped into my white paint again. Maybe tap on your napkins just so you don't have a lot of paint on here. And I'm just gonna go right under here again and just start to twirl around. Clouds are really fun. Some people just tap clouds. You can do that if you like. I like to twirl them. I find it makes them look fluffier. Just think of laying on the ground, looking up at the sky. Clouds are all over the place. They don't really, they kind of look like things sometimes and sometimes they don't. So I'm always twirling around. Sometimes I'm not even thinking about where I'm twirling, and I just let myself kind of go back towards the cloud I had and just let it happen. If anything, if you didn't, if something happened and you just did not like this clouds or the clouds that you're making, you can just paint it light blue again, right? There's always a way. And plus there is lots of trees, so we're only going to see kind of this main area. It's like kind of framed, right? We're only going to see in here the most. So you don't even have to worry too much about this side, which I might not even make clouds over there too much because it's going to get covered anyways. So tap. And then just twirl it around until it ends. And just make sure you go in different directions, up and down. Give it a variety of movement. I kind of leave some space in between. We will add a little bit of dark into here because it's not just going to be all white clouds. There has to be some shadow I'm going to start to get smaller with the clouds sooner when I get closer to this water line. That will give it some illusion of depth. That cloud just ended over there. Make tiny little ones down here. And they're just kind of like little taps. Just thinking of different shapes going on. You sure can go back to the video after it ends. So these ones I'm just keeping smaller because it's getting closer to the water line. Maybe I'll make that one just bigger because it's kind of transitions like from these really big ones to these small ones. There we go, just a couple. The painting has lots of clouds, so. I mean, the picture does, but like I said, sometimes I change it up, so. These are just like taps, really, and then sometimes I churn my brush and give it some different variety. The key is using a dry brush, like having no water, and a soft brush will definitely help. I'm just gonna hold it back. I can't really hold it because then I end up taking it out of frame of the camera. I'm taking that away from you guys. I apologize. There's gonna be a little like tree line across here too, so some of these might disappear. I don't want them to all look the same, so sometimes I go back and I like make one bigger or kind of put it in between. Like I don't want to tell that there's row. Like see how my row is kind of has some variety in it, where it's not just straight lines. Just want it to look different. I go back up to my big white clouds and just kind of add some more white kind of on the tops of them. You can kind of imagine where the top of the cloud is and just start to add some white. You can even just tap it on at this point, kind of bringing these clouds out more. Just follow your clouds, wherever they are, these lines on top of them, and just tap some fresh white on there so it can pop them out, because then we're going to add a little bit of dark under these next while it's still wet. It's easier to do this when the clouds are still wet. We're going to want to use grayish blue under them, just kind of like similar to your watercolor. Will be nice for the under these clouds. I'm just tapping all on the tops with the white. How are you guys doing so far? Okay, so then I just want to add a little bit of my dark color underneath. So I'm just going to need my blue and my gray and my white again to make that kind of similar to the watercolor. Just a little bit of black at a time. There, so something that's different. Okay, so yeah, you can totally come back at any time. I'm not too sure how long this painting will be, just because I'm just painting from a photograph, so it's kind of just gonna be however long it is. I'm hoping that it's not like 4 hours or something, because it's not gonna be, but yeah, no worries. You gotta go, but don't want to miss the trees. Yes, soon I will get to those. I just have to make the tree line in the distance before I can get to these big trees. So I don't know if I'll be able to get to it yet, but yes, the replay will be up soon. Thank you. Okay, so I have a kind of that grayish blue, something similar to the water. You can kind of even just test it in your water. Like, oh, is it similar? Yep. Okay, and then you can put it, so it's gonna come off very bold to start, okay? But you're just putting it in all the kind of in-betweens of the clouds. Okay, so it's kind of underneath. You want to use less paint, that does help. You can even add a little water to thin it down. And you're just going to kind of twirl it in to your clouds underneath of the, where the bright white is. You can even get, I find if I put it in and then twirl a little bit, the color will blend with the white that I already applied. There we go. And that helps to soften it. And of course, if anything got too dark, then you can just put white back on and kind of just do that circular motion, a little bit of twirling, and that'll help to soften it. Just try less paint too. Okay, so I'm just kind of twirling the rest of this dark color along this undertone of the white, just because I wanted to kind of use up the color, and then you can just use a little bit of water or a little touch up of white to just blend it in. And just kind of twirl it around. A little water will definitely help with this twirling motion, but definitely not a lot of water because it will trip. You just want it to look like it's subtly a shadow here and not like this bold shadow. Kind of like stormy clouds. See, I can put white back on it if I find that it's too much. Because clouds are mostly white, but there is dark in there. So I'll just kind of, you can even just tap here and there and it just helps to tone it down. A little bit of playing here. I hope you guys are having a cloud day. Sometimes I make clouds and they don't work. So, happens to me. Can happen to anybody. Okay, so then I'm just adding a little bit of kind of dark, like in some of these under the little clouds. Even if I just tapped it in there. I'll bring it closer to you so I can show you what I mean, because, and I'll try not to bring it at the camera. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in on this part. These little clouds, I just tapped a little bit of the dark color, and then you can just use a cleaned off brush with a little water. Just tap it on. It helps to bring it back, tone it down again, so it's not like so bold of color there. Because you want to tell that there's a shadow, but you don't want it to look super bold. Unless, you know, maybe it's a stormy cloud, and that's fine. Clouds are not your thing. It takes practice, definitely does. Like I said, sometimes I have days where I like make really cool clouds, and then other times I'm like, wow, I made a cloud before and now I can't make one. I don't know what it is either. That's a mystery to me. So I'm just going to put a little bit of barely any paint on my brush, just so I can just, the less bold this is, the easier to blend later. So I'm just focusing on like kind of like the bottoms and a little bit into the middle as well. Kind of gives them the 3D effect. I mean, you could totally just have white clouds too, so don't worry. And there are going to be trees, kind of leaves and stuff too. So just play. If you really don't want clouds, paint it all light blue again. There's nothing wrong with that. I could literally do a lesson on its own on just practicing clouds. I have one actually in the video section where I did just a cloud painting with a different type of brush than this. It was a mop brush. You can check that out. I feel like I did that like, I would say it would be in like 2020. So you might have to scroll down a little bit, but you can see all the videos. I've definitely made a lot of videos. Okay, so just using water now, literally just a cleaned off brush with water on it, but not a lot of it. And you can literally just go on top of any of these clouds and just twirl it around, little twirls like that, but tiny. And it just, anywhere else you see it could need to be softened, that type of thing, then you can do that. And I also would like you to step back from your art. I can see mine in the camera, so that helps me to gain a new perspective. Because when you're up close with it, sometimes it can seem like a lot. You're just gonna wanna take a step back and see it from a new view and see where maybe, oh, like I need more white there, or oh, like it actually does look good, right? Give yourself some credit here. I'm sure some of you are just learning. I've been painting for a long time, so it's just, I try to remind everybody that we're all at our own phases, and there's like really no right or wrong with art anyways. So yeah, anyways, that's my little creative rant. Okay, so yeah, I'm also gonna take a step back from my own art and just see like where I wanna add anything. I'm just looking for areas that are like too bold, or maybe somewhere that needs to be softened, or maybe I need to balance it, like, oh, do I need like a smaller cloud somewhere or a bigger cloud to give it something different. Totally too, like if you're watching this on replay, or if you afterwards like want some help, like you can send me a photograph, your painting that we're doing together here tonight, in the messenger, and then I can help you and I can see where you're at, because obviously I can't see what you're doing to help. So I would say clouds would be the hardest part of this painting, and we're done that, so yay. Then we get to make some tree lines, and then those big trees. So I'm just gonna see what time it is. So yeah, we're probably gonna be going till about, I would say around 8:39 that this class will end. That's Eastern time zone, by the way. I'm just gonna plug in my phone because I don't want it to die on you guys. Feel free to, like, you know, go refresh your water or get a refreshment or a snack, okay? That kind of gives people time to catch up if they're needing it. And yeah, I'm just gonna be chilling here, but if you need like a quick minute or a couple minutes, that's fine too. So maybe I'll just give it till like 7:54 or so. And then I'll start again. Okay. And then, yeah, feel free to ask me any questions. I just needed a little stretch break myself. I had to stand up. And I'm just also gaining a new perspective of my art too. So, okay, yeah. So then it's going to be like tree line. Sweet. So we're gonna need, we're basically gonna be using green to the end. Like, there's a lot of green now coming in. There's dark greens, there's light greens, there's bluish greens. A lot of green tones going on. So basically that's what we're going to be doing. And if you want to use some different green variety paints that you may have at home, then you can totally do that. But I will show you some mixing because all I have is yellow and blue, which makes green. So just late joining. Yes, there's totally a replay, no worries. We're probably going to be going for another like half an hour to an hour with this. So that's when it'll be up, approximately. Just a little more detailing and steps with this one tonight. Okay, so I'm going to be getting out my yellow and my blue. So I'm going to be making green. Like I said, you can just use your own green if you want. Just putting out 2 yellow sections. And then where's my blue go? There it is. So just doing this so I can prepare myself for other mixing to get different varieties. So I have a yellow and a blue, yellow and a blue. I'm going to put black with one of them to make a darker green. Okay, and these are for mixing later. And white will also lighten the other green. Okay. So that's what I have ready to start kind of mixing some green tones. As for brush, we can use a filbert brush for now, or a flat. Okay, so I'm just going to use this one. I'm going to wet this brush. Alrighty, and I'm going to just start by making a dark green, because I'm going to do this tree line back here. So I have yellow, scoop of yellow, a little bit of blue, stir it together, make a nice green. I want it darker, add a little more blue to it. Okay, and yeah, let's add a little touch of black to that. There we go. So I'm basically making a dark green right now. And now we get to make our tree line. So wherever my water line is, that's where I'm going to make this tree line. So now I'm going to be coming across. This should all be like dry by now, or maybe sticky, but it should be just fine to go across right now. Okay, so I'm going to go across. Thank you for the hearts and thumbs up. So I can see there's like a little bit of hills and stuff on this line, so I'm going to be doing that, but I just want to add a little bit of like water shimmers continuing this down just while I have it out. So I'm just using the very edge of my brush. You can even get out that flat brush again. If I wanted to, I could just get out my little baby flat brush here. Just want to do the water shimmers because that is a reflection of this tree line. Okay, so I'm just going to do just like the little shimmer lines that we had. They're broken up lines underneath. Okay, and that's what's nice because it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, because now there is little shimmers. See? Okay, and then I'm going to make some kind of hills. So I'm not worried about here because I won't see it, or here. But I'm just going to focus kind of in the middle area. So I'm going to come up on an angled line. Just like that. And then I'm going to go across. Basically all the way over here. And then there's going to be another one over here. We'll make it in case we end up seeing some of it, because you never know. So I'm just scrubbing that in. Sometimes I give it a little tap. Okay, so I'm just kind of filling that in here. With my darkish green that I made. I'm just going to get my other filbert brush because I find that works better. Yeah. Sometimes you'll get a favorite brush that you like, and mine's definitely a filbert. Which is this one. It's kind of like a combo brush. It's flat and rounded. Okay, and I'm just going to start to take some more paint and just tap on here just so it can look more textured and give the illusion of distant trees. We're gonna just tap on there. You can go a little bit past the line, makes it look like there's top of trees going on. Okay, and I'll bring it closer for you to see because I imagine that's hard to see from this camera view. So I'm just tapping on the tops and into the middle with that color. See that? And it makes it look like there's like tops of trees and stuff. And I'm just using the filbert brush for that. And I'm pushing. Okay, so I'm going to bring that back down just so I don't lose my balance. I don't use water at this point in this part because if I used water in these trees right now, it would thin them. So I just use thicker paint. There we go. And I got a little bit down here so I can just turn into a water line. That's cool. Okay. I'm actually adding a little bit of water to the bottom of this just to create more shadow underneath. And you might lose some of those white shimmers. We can always add it if we need to. There we go. It's looking pretty cool. Take a step back, you can see it. Yay, we have something in the center, I love it. Okay, you guys are doing great. I know there's a lot more steps and patience to this, so thank you for sticking with me tonight. Okay. So now there's a little tiny island over here that kind of comes out. So I'm going to do that one. I'm going to say it's going to come. So there's like these white shimmers that we made earlier. So I'm going to kind of make it come over here on my right side and below that area. Okay. I'm still going to use that dark color because it's in the distance. So it's further away. So it's not going to be as bright. So I'm just going to be making it again since mine faded away. So I just scoop yellow. I always scoop because then I have more paint to work with. Sometimes I see people mixing up just tiny bits at a time and then you end up having to be constantly mixing. So just scoop more and you can save yourself the having to remember how exactly it was made. There we go. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Anne. Sometimes I'm like, do I make sense right now? So thank you for confirming. Okay, so yeah, under the shimmers, you can use a flat brush just to mark out where your line is. Because this one, somewhere over here. So I'm going to make it kind of down here. There we go, it's coming out. It's not quite halfway in the picture, so I'm just going to kind of leave it at this point. It can be longer or shorter. It doesn't overly matter. Okay, and it kind of looks like it's like this circular motion here where it has this curve. I'm just looking at this picture here, and then it looks like it gets wider on this side. Okay, it kind of looks like a foot. Thank you. course you can fill in this foot thing. And then anything in the water, you're going to want water shimmers. So just a little bit underneath, you just pull the line a little bit past this little curve part and just do thin little broken up lines, because now it's sitting into the water versus being on top of it. This totally does remind me of the Muskokas. Like, this picture is from the Muskokas in Ontario here, but it's bringing me back, which is really nice. That's what I love about art. It's like, okay, I love to go hiking, so there we go. Okay, while we have this little flat brush, I'm just going to clean it off. Sometimes I bounce around with pictures, so don't mind me. I'm just cleaning off my little tiny brush here, this flat one. But I'm going to put white on it. White. Okay, just a little bit, not a lot of it. I just want to get some little more white shimmers while the water's more easier to get to before we put other big trees around it. So anywhere that you kind of put these green areas, you're going to want to break it up with some water lines, and that really does make this water pop. So I'm going to bring it closer for you to see. I apologize because it's hard to see from the distance. So yeah, I just kind of imagine where that line was. See that? I just put it on little bits in here. And it really does like make a difference. Just break them up, the lines. Any line you get too thick, just clean your brush off, water it down with just that wet brush, or that damp brush, I should say, and just go back and forth on it, and it'll tone down the white, okay? If that happens to you, the white just gets bold, and it doesn't hurt to do that, so I can just use this damp brush, and I can just go back and forth on it a little bit, even everywhere, and it just really does soften it. And then the same for under this one. Yes. Yeah, it makes it look way more realistic, right? That's the goal. I'm going to put a little more of these. They're smaller in the distance, and then kind of like if I got closer, then they're going to get bigger, but I'm just going to kind of make them a little more in the center area. Like, I'm putting a little bit more here. That one was way too like thick and bold. So it's just cool because I can show you, I'm just watering it down and spreading it out. Sometimes water will help erase it, but I just spread it out. There we go. Just putting them little bits. You can tap them onto like we did earlier if you want to. I'm making, I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm working on a huge canvas, like a 3x4 or something, and it's all literally these tiny little water shimmers and like multiple colors, and I'm going from the skyline all the way down to where the sand is. So that one is, imagine this but on like triple, like double this size canvas or more. I'm just doing those tiny little motions. I have posted about that ocean painting and I love it. I love like making water lines, so I could do this all day. But I'm going to be doing a live on water next month. So my goal is to like start doing more like lessons that are like tutorials, like, so like, you know, maybe one month will be like clouds, the other month will be like water, you know, trees, all the kind of basics, like breaking it down, like just focusing on one set thing versus like a whole picture. So that's what I'm going to be starting to do with my lives, and just focus on certain things. Of course, no worries. I'm just actually adding a little bit of white to my clouds. This is, sometimes, like I said, I jump around when I'm making, because I don't know what the end result is yet of this painting, so that's what's fun about it. And I'm just, when I've taught lives, like I know what my end result is, because I'm using my own painting that I had created and recreating it and showing you how I did that with my previous lessons. But now I'm just using this photograph, so it's going to be its own unique artwork. And yeah, so anyways, I think that's enough water shimmers. I just sometimes, like, you can look at the clouds, right, and sometimes something fades. That's why I'm adding a little bit of white on like some of these brighter areas, just because it's faded. And that's how I tend to get my paintings to look bolder as well, because I'm doing lots of layers. So this is definitely more of a detailed painting so far. And I know you guys can do it too, so. Okay, anyways, I'll stop touching the clouds. Put that little brush in the water. I still have this green one. I didn't clean it just because I knew I was going to use it again. I'm just going to tap in here now. So instead of like adding a second coat, I'm just going to tap and go a little bit on top and make little tiny pretend trees again. See these? And just tapping on the top. I'm going in an up and down motion. You can either use this side of the brush or this side, but this side probably would work better to make little taps for little, think of them as teeny tiny pine trees that you're looking down onto, because you're up here in an overlook point. So and because I didn't want this to be super round, actually, because like nature isn't perfect, so I just kind of toned down that line there where it was more curved. There we go. And I'm just tapping that in. Let's add a little bit of yellow, just here and there, because it's closer. I just think of it as random. Basically, it's kind of on the tops and in between. Okay, so that's what that one looks like. I'll bring it closer. So I just kind of tapped a little bit of like yellows, yellowish green. I just added a little yellow to the green I already had. And then I just tapped kind of on the tops and in between, and now it looks like there's like these distant trees or bushes that we're looking down into, and that's just with the tapping motion. I always just make sure that some maybe are a little bit taller, right? Some are shorter. A good variety. Okay. So now we have this part, we have the clouds, and now we can get into the frame of this picture. So that's exciting. You guys are doing great. Okay, so I'm just putting some brushes aside that I don't need in my space. Okay, so I still have my like yellows and my blues. Even if you, like I said, if you have a variety of greens, you can use that. Okay, so I'm going to take out like a bigger brush now, because there's a lot of area here and it's going to be easier if I have a bigger brush, okay? So hopefully you guys do. If not, it just might take you a little bit longer, which is fine. And I'm using a frailed brush now, because this is going to help me to make bristly trees, leaves, etc. It'll help with creating that. So that's what I'm going to use. With trees and leaves and bushes, I'm not going to wet my brush, so that's also a key aspect, because I find that helps it to look more bristled if I have a more of a dry brush approach than a wet brush. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of start with a frame here, and then we're going to add in more details with like branches and different colors and stuff. So at first it's just going to look really dark, then we're going to add light into it and branches into it as we go along. Okay, so I guess I'll need to make more colors. So I'm going to use a different brush to make my color. I'm going to still make my dark green, just because I'm going to start with dark. It's easier to have dark paint first and then add light to it after. So paint from dark to light. Okay, so I'm just making up a good amount here of paint. Okay, making that dark color, add a little black. So yellow plus blue, plus a tiny bit of black, making that dark color. Okay, and I'm even going to use this to add onto here so I don't waste any paint. And the reason I use this brush to mix it with is because this brush was wet and it's easier to blend with. Whereas this, I just want to use like the top of this brush. I don't want to soak this brush with paint. Okay, and any bigger brush, just something that you can do this with. Oh, I just splashed myself. Okay, so see that? I don't have a whole lot on there. All right, so now we're going to start with the bottom. I'm just going to tap along there. Definitely going to need to make a lot more. So I'm just going to use this brush to do it because it's going to soak up the paint on me. There we go. And I just use the top of it. Okay, so now we're just going to, these are the bushes. Okay, so I am just starting with dark. It's going to be very dark, and we're going to add light. So I'm just going to tap up and down, doing dabbing motions. You can even use a sponge for this if you have a sponge. Okay, I don't know, maybe you have one lying around. I like the bristled brush, the loose brush, because look at what it can do for me. It can make it look like bushes and stuff without any effort. All I'm doing is dabbing and making sure that I'm giving a variety of size. Some short, some tall. That's it. Just go across and make sure that I'm covering the blue. You can leave some, obviously some spots transparent like at the top, just so it can show that it's there's water under there. Okay, and this part is, it's like a good amount is going to be covered, so we're going to get into that. I'm going to need more paint. We're going to need a lot of green at this point. Sorry guys. Okay, so we have our bottom. And if you like it like this, keep it that way. We can add light colors on top of it after. I like to give people choices. Okay, because this looks cool too. Anyways, now it's getting, you gotta get a little brave here because you're gonna cover up some of the stuff that you've made. Okay, that's why I was saying earlier, don't worry about this side too much. Because here I go, I'm gonna start dabbing along. I'm going to angle myself out. Sorry, I'm gonna try to hold this so it's not like loud and annoying. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to come out. So I'm looking at these trees. They are coming outwards. So I'm going to be able to see some of the cloud and some of the sky through it. And just going from this edge out is kind of the motion that I'm doing. And of course I'm going to make it different because it looks like there's two rows of trees here. There's like tree and tree. So that's kind of one tree, and then I'm going to make another one kind of beside it, but maybe just a little lower. But the key is I'm leaving the sky and the cloud kind of showing through so I can tell that there's more than one tree. Okay. Sorry. This thing is, it's just my easel, it's old. But I love the easel. Yeah, this is definitely a bravery test. There, I've managed. Okay, get close to your island, be mindful. Actually kind of looks cool, even if I actually grew these trees to this island. Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to leave it like this. So in the picture, it goes all the way down, okay? And this is what I mean by sometimes I customize it because, you know, this is the inspiration, this is my art. So this, I was looking on this half here, it goes all the way down, but I don't like that because then it covers my island and my water shimmers that I worked so hard on. So I don't want to cover that. So if you want to, you can, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to make them grow from here, and I think that looks really nice. There we go. Love it. So in that case, these bush areas I can maybe just make a little bit taller if I need to, because now they are going to be more of a focal point. Okay. There. So that's that half. Of course, we're going to add lighter colors soon. Okay. Hope you guys are doing good. Definitely having a bigger brush makes this way easier. So, okay. Now this side, there's a lot of going on, a lot of tree too, but I'm just gonna kind of go for it and see what happens. So, I'm just thinking about it for a moment. I'm gonna grow this part out a bit. Okay, let's add some color here. I want to add some tree branches on this side before we do the color, before we do leaves over here, just because there is more so going on there than that side. You can't really see as much. So I want to add some light colors, and then we'll work on making like a tree branch on this side. Okay, so with this, all I'm going to do with my dark green is I'm just going to put some yellow on my plate. Some fresh yellow here. And you can wipe some of it off or just tap it on the napkin. You never want to wet this brush, okay? You just wipe it off if you find it's getting too much or something. Or if you have another brush you could use. So I'm just going to, remember where we talked about the light, how it's coming down here and a little bit onto these kind of edges. So now I'm just going to be highlighting some halves of these trees. So just a little bit on the edge of the tree and into the middle where I focus on. And I will bring it closer. Okay, I'm gonna balance this on my shoulder. All right, so a little bit of highlighting. If it's like too much, just tap some off on your napkin. I'm just highlighting where these tops are. A little bit into it too. See that? And then this is another tree. So then this one will also be highlighted. Just on the top, a little bit into the middle. If you end up getting too much brightness, you can always add the dark in. It's easier to add the dark back than to start with light. Yeah, like here I might add a little dark just because it went too far in. That's okay. So all I do is just take that dark color and just put it back on. Voila. Okay, and then on these ones, I'm just going to highlight just the tops of these bushes with my yellow color are already on the brush I didn't clean. Kind of how Bob Ross worked. He didn't clean his brushes really. He just went from color to color. I had to like pause his videos like 800 times as I learned. And you might have to do that as you watch me too, and that's okay. Just give yourself grace. So I highlighted the tops. And then a little bit into the middle. By the time I get to the middle, Usually some of the paint is already off. I did actually highlight just these little bushes at the bottom there. Yeah, it looks cool how it is. But I'll do the other tree on the other side. Just because. But I'm just saying, this painting has so many possibilities as you go along in this live. So kind of just listen to your own self and like let yourself get creative with it. And add or take away what you want to. Okay, so let's take a break from the dabbing. Let me know if you have questions about that. I know it was a little fast. I use this big brush so that kind of makes it seem faster and it covers more surface area. And sometimes I just try not to overthink it and I just let it happen versus like I'm planning it, but at the same time I'm letting it kind of just be. And that takes practice and trust and so on, so it takes time. Okay, so I'm gonna get out some black. So excited for you guys to watch it again on the replay. Some of you were coming back. Okay, so I'm gonna get out my black. I'm just using a filbert brush or a flat brush. Okay, it doesn't matter. And I'm gonna be focusing, there's like a really tall tree over here. I don't know if you guys can see it. See that one? Yeah, you can see that. See how there's like this tall tree? That's what I'm gonna focus on before I put more leaves around it. And I find that area is like really busy, so I'm kind of toning it down a bit. And of course, as I do like these type of paintings for myself, I can really customize it. But say I'm doing a commission for somebody that's like, okay, I want this picture. Of course, it's never like going to be exact, but I'm going to try my best to make it as exact as the picture is. But in this case, I have that variety where I can add in my own flair to it. So, okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of kind of black just in here, just to kind of break up this part, to kind of show that there's like branches in there. Call them sticks. So if you just put one, imagine where the bottoms are connecting into the bush. I know I jumped here, but I just saw that because by doing this, it just kind of helps to break up this area too. Okay. Before I get to this tree, actually, since we put lines in here, and they can be very like just 2 lines wherever your trees are, you can use a flat brush even for that. But if you just take a little bit of white and just highlight, this is really cool too, because wherever the side is closest to the light, so the center, you just give a little tap of a highlight. You really make this part stand out, and it helps ease the eye when looking at it as a whole. Bob Ross used to add these little white sticks everywhere, and it really did. Like just thin white sticks, and it was like, wow, and it's made it pop. So even if I just put a couple of little, I call them sticks. So I'm just gonna kind of just put little random sticks in here, and it just, I just love how it just makes such a difference. I'm kind of just sticking them toward the front. And they're pointed different directions too, where they're not just straight up and down. There's sideways ones and so forth. And then up here, I kind of just see where this is growing, and I build my tree. You don't want to get too crazy with that though, because then you can lose what you had going on. So just trying something here. See if I should tell you to do it. Yeah, okay. because I had like a little bit of black on my brush, I just put a little bit of, this is kind of detailing now, so I'm apologizing if I'm seeming jumpy, but I'm just kind of going with what happens as I go here. And that's usually how I create. So just kind of showing you guys how I do things. I'm doing it above the water shimmers just so it can kind of help ground this area. It breaks up the colors, because if it's like all green, it's really hard for the eye to focus on something. So by putting in just a little bit of black, it really does make such a difference. And that's just in this area here, just a very little bit. It can be even gray, just something to break up this green area. I might even put a little bit, kind of makes it look like rocks, that type of thing. So yeah, let me know if you have questions. This is so fun. Where's my watercolor? There it is. So yeah, it is looking like we found somewhere to overlook the water. So that's really awesome. Now we get to grow a big tree. For real. Okay, so I'm doing this tree over here. It's coming out of this bush. Okay, so it's right in here. It's going to be a little thicker. Got to be brave here. It's going to grow all the way to the top. Take your time. You might need to add a little water to your black and stir it around, because that'll help it grow. Keep on growing. You can use a flat brush for this. You can switch brushes halfway through. You don't have to stick with the same brush. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Whew. There we go. And breathe. Just gonna get a little thicker at the bottom to support such a big, beautiful tree. So I might even use the flat brush just so I can get the edging better. Okay, so that tree is now in the bush. I'm going to use my finger, tap the bottom so it grounds it. Or if you still have this brush lying around, just use this, give it a tap at the bottom to hide the tree back into the bush, because you don't want it to be standing out. Okay, so we have our nice tall tree here. Where I said to tap this part, I just want to add a little bit of yellow just to bring it a little bit of a pop down there while we're in this area. With this brush, I didn't even clean that yet because I didn't want to wet it. I just add a little bit of yellow here on the area where I just tapped. It gives it another layer. And there's now something right in the front. See that? You can even give it a little yellow plus white, and you can get like a nice brighter color to show that it's different than all the other colors, which really does bring it out. More depth. And that's just with this brush. So a little bit of white and yellow here. You don't want to lose all your dark. If you do, just add a little bit back in there. There. And I'm just wiping it off because I'm not going to clean that because I'm going to need it for my leaves. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I touched there with the wrong color. so this tree has branches that are kind of more to the top. So I'm going to use the smaller brush for this. All right, with just black. And the branches are coming out about here. And then it's kind of curving and going like that. So I kind of went up and gave it like this little like kind of upside down C, and then pulled it out with like a flick at the end. I'm just going to make that a little thicker. Okay, and it looks like there's a branch that's on it like that. And then there's one over here. They're kind of just like V's. They're always changing directions, branches. So some can be straighter, curvier, pointed. There. The ones closest to this middle part are going to be a little bit thicker on the inside, like the branches edges, because they're going to be supporting the leaves. So you just want these to be a little bit thicker just to support it. And sometimes you have to watch, because then you'd have to make this thicker. So it's kind of just making sure that it all looks balanced and even as you can get it to be. And this picture doesn't have any highlight in the tree, but I'm going to do that on the branch just because, and I just decided to do some little black grasses there. There. Nope, that's happened. I decided to make a sideways branch there because it grew too tall, but that's okay. It just turned into something else. I was talking about that spot. Okay, so it looks like there's another tree over here, so I'm just gonna make one. Actually, I'm gonna look back at it. Yeah, okay, so there's one like over here, kind of growing up. Another little tree. There's gonna be a lot of greenery here, so I'm just making the branches first. And then we'll finish off with some greenery, highlighting first on the tree, and then some leaves and greenery on this side, and then we'll be done. Okay, so there we go. This tree's a little bit thinner on the top, thicker around the bottom. And I'm not making it as tall, so then it creates more depth. Yeah, that can just be bushes. Okay, so branch, V's, keeping it light. Sometimes I add a little water to my black. Thinning down the paint to do branches is a-okay because that will help you. I'm just putting a couple more. Okay. So then I'm gonna clean off that little brush, the flat one, just so I can get a little bit of white. And I'm just going to give a little highlighting on these branches. Just gonna kind of give a little white guy in here. Those little sticks make such a difference. Okay, so if I just carefully tap the sides of these trees or my stick thing that I made here, if I just tap the side of them with a little bit of white, just gives them a little bit of a highlight. You don't want a lot of paint, just a little bit of white, and you can just kind of do an up and down scuffing motion to give it some bark. So it's just very thinned white. Almost looks gray because the color underneath is wet or damp. So it makes it look grayish. And I only do it on parts that are thick. Not gonna worry about teeny tiny branches because that's just gonna be way too hard to get into there. So I just focus on areas that I know I'm going to see and give the illusion of bark. This one's a little bit thicker, so I'll put that on there. There. So all we need is leaves. Stay. Okay, so let's put these other brushes in the water so I don't end up, except for this one, because what we're going to finish off with is leaves, which is more of the dabbing with this dry brush that just has paint on it. It wasn't previously wet. And I just need to make up some more color here. So I'm just going for dark green first, and then I can add highlighting of yellow and stuff after to it. Okay. So I'm just going to stir this around, making my green and then adding a little bit of black into it, little bit by little bit. I'm gonna wipe off some of this excess paint because it's gonna be way too much. Okay, so I'm gonna be dabbing some on my napkin just so I don't have a lot of paint on my brush here. And then that's when I can start to frame this tree. So to me, the picture kind of looks curved, so I would just follow this curved motion. So I'll kind of draw it first and just tapping. So it's kind of looking like a curve. And I'm just putting it on all the ends of the branches right now. I'm going to be making this more dense. There's nothing wrong with having it thin and just like this. Like, there's all seasons of trees, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going for what the picture is similar to that. So it's just very, very dense. So that's what I'm aiming for. But like I said, in this painting, you can customize it to whatever you feel. So I cannot wait to see your guys' after. Okay, so I'm just gonna tap this one. I'm probably gonna keep this tree thinner with less density. Oops, just dropped my paint palette. There we go. So just a little more see-through here. And then put that there. So then all in here, I'm just getting it dark, filling it in between branches. Okay, covering some of the branches. Just have to be careful where you're dabbing. Just really think about it. Like, make sure you're still keeping some branches to show through some of that sky, but at the same time covering some of the branches to make it look like it's all grown there together. Okay, and over here, I'm gonna go for it and make like this sideways bush area. I'm gonna make this a little denser. This is not part that you have to fill in. I'm just going to. There. So it's kind of looking like another sideways tree or bush over here. And I lost my little branch too, so I'm going to put them back. If you lose a branch, you can always just put it back. So you can take black on your brush and just see where maybe you can add a branch now that you put your leaves. So just anywhere maybe where it looks like something's floating. I'm not seeing that too much in mine and that I'm needing to right now. But this is what I mean, where I can just add a little branch into some areas if I needed something to fill in a spot. Okay. So now we can highlight it with some yellow, brighten it up. Just put out yellow. I'm wiping off some of this, even if I dab it and wipe some off. Just use direct yellow, dab it on my plate so it naturally mixes in with the color I already have. And then now I'm just going to think about where the light is. Did it on this half over here earlier. I'm just going to touch that up actually. So now the light's coming on this side, on my right as well. So then I'm just going to do like kind of tips of the tops of the trees. There we go. Kind of like a little bit on the inside and where it would be brightest. And then this big old bush thing that I made here definitely needs a highlight. Keep dropping my palette. Okay. Getting a little bit more yellow. I just find it wasn't quite showing up, so you might have to add a little more yellow or add a little white to it. There we go. That's showing up more so what I wanted. So that's good. Just on that half. And a little bit on the inside of this tree. Light shining down. You might be working, you can always work with a variety of sizes and brushes here. Like I use this giant brush, but you can use a smaller frailed brush, ones that's just old looking, that you know has had its run in. You can use that to make these leaf spots maybe with more ease if you had a smaller brush. So yeah, I'm just kind of touching up areas now because I feel like I'm done. I'm just touching up because I don't want to add too much to this area because I like how it's a little bit more less dense than the picture. So I've, like I said in the beginning, I would probably customize it. And I was just going to go for it. I didn't really know what I was going to make out of this inspiration here. I was just going to see what happened. So that's always fun that we got to do that together and kind of go through the motions and the thought processes together. So I hope I made sense, since I haven't overly done videos like this before where I'm kind of talking out loud with what I'm using as a reference and so forth. So yeah, let me know how that was for you, and if you need any help after, I'm here for you. Just because you can't meet me in person, or if you know me in person and you want my help, I'll help you. But if you're on the other side of the world and you can't see me right now, I can help you online. So and kind of for finishing touches, all I'm doing is just giving a little bit of white highlight on some of these branches in the middle of these leaves. Just a little bit of white to make these pop out again, because sometimes they get lost. So if you just even put a couple of them in there, it just makes this stand out. You just don't want to have it too bold. yeah, I am done. Because I don't want to touch too much more of this because I like where it is and I don't want to wreck it. So yeah, just take a step back. Don't compare and just see where you're at and appreciate your art. There. Okay, so yeah, I am done for tonight. So thank you for following along with me or watching the replay. Sorry, my comments just kind of all popped up at once here because they disappeared apparently. So I'm just gonna kind of look through here just to make sure I didn't miss anything. I apologize if I did not say anything. It's because the comments disappeared. And I didn't know how to get them back, but I just randomly touched it and it came back, so we're good. Love it. Oh, thank you so much. Been great, thank you. Enjoying the learning process. So good. Thank you guys and gals and everybody here. I would love if you feel called to leave a review on my page. I shared to my story, there's like this rating thing I had no idea about your host. I guess that helps to boost this page so that more people can learn and grow with us all. So if you could leave a review if you feel called to about your experience tonight or in the past, I would love to hear it. That helps me know how to serve you better. So thank you. Looks better than the photo. Thank you. I'm just trying to catch up to these. Oh, thank you. You guys are so nice. Yes, definitely couldn't figure out how to review. Well, I think you go to the main page and it might be in the more section. I feel like Facebook is constantly updating. So I feel like if you clicked the main page in like the tab where it says more, maybe it'll say review there. Or if you want to personally write one on my page, like the wall itself, I can always like copy and paste that and put it into a review with your name. That could work too. So we'll find a way. Thanks for asking. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so glad you guys had a good time. Yep, it'll be on replay. Yeah, I love that it's different. A little bit different. Need better brushes. Yeah, you know what? What I like, so I teach kids too, and what I like to remind everybody, so I'm also an early child educator, so I refer to children in that moment because it's like I try to remind everybody that I meet that it's not you, that it could be your tools that you're using. So maybe the paintbrushes or the tools you had tonight didn't quite work in the way you wanted them to. That's why it's nice that you have this replay, so then you can go out and find the tools needed. And if you don't know what they are, feel free to send me a message and I can definitely help you. And then, yeah, so it's not you, it could be the tools. So that's another thing. Right? I would love to be sitting here. This is like you went up for a good hike and you found this like beautiful spot and you just get to sit down and like take a breath, you know? That's what this painting reminds me of. And sorry if it was a little echoey. I couldn't get any background music to play. Plus, Facebook doesn't necessarily like me to have background music because I don't own the rights to the music and I don't have my own music that I've made. So that's why, and I'm in a smaller room, so it could be echoey and I apologize about that. Yeah, you're welcome. Just trying to catch up. Sorry if I miss anything that you might have said. The comments are moving. I try to go back and then they like go somewhere else. Gloria, I have a long way to go, but this gives me a bit more confidence to do my own thing now. Oh, I'm so glad to hear. Yay. You go. Yes. Try it out on your own safe place. And then, yeah, thank you so much for the feedback. You guys are so nice. Thank you. Oh, I lost my spot in the comments. You're very welcome, Sherry. Need help with water shimmers. Yeah, so definitely will be doing just a water class. So in July, I'm doing a live where I'm going to be teaching water shimmers and how to make like kind of like these, you know, water lines and shimmers more in detail. So that's coming up in July as my free live. And that'll just be focused on water. Okay, now this was a lot to focus on. So bravo to you all. Whereas now, like I was mentioning in my next coming lessons for lives, maybe throughout the summer, I'll be focusing on certain subjects. So like water, you know, trees, grasses, clouds, whatever there is to focus on. So then we can learn all those individually and gain more confidence. So then you can make a bigger scenery like this too. So yeah, where can we share this? Wherever you like. Do you mean your picture result? Oh yes, I would love to see your guys' paintings. Yes, please. You can share them here. So this live is going to be posted on this page. So then you can send me your picture there, send it to me privately and I can share it for you. Or you can go to this event in the event section, probably under the More tab, and you can just post it right into the event itself as well. So yeah, hopefully that helps. So glad it was fun and relaxing. Thank you again, everybody. I'm just going to see if there was any more comments that I missed. If it lets me go up. A lot of people from the US. Cool. All over the world. Lots of newbies. Love it. Oh, Nova Scotia. Just reading the random comments. Don't mind me. You're welcome. I'm just scrolling up to make sure I didn't miss anything from you guys. But it'll probably show me easier once I post this. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, it is too hard to go up because it kind of loses its spot, but thank you again, and I won't keep you any longer. So yeah, there's some lives coming up. July will be about water. August is a mystery. Kind of gave you a hint tonight of probably what it's going to be. Certain focus points. I have a Zoom coming up where I'm teaching you guys a nice beach scene. There is water in that. There is palm trees. So that'll be relaxing. That is in August. It's a Zoom event, so that's where I can meet you and you can meet me and we can talk. And I can help you easier that way. It's a paid event, just help support me to be able to do these lives for my time, for the lessons, for the paint that I use, my own paint and canvases and stuff. So yes, thank you. And then there's also a Zoom paint pour abstract fun class too, where I'm going to guide you through how to make your own like abstract artwork. Those colorful fluid arts that you can see probably all over the place. So I love those. I like making those, and I just don't feel like making a picture like this, but I want to get creative. So check out all the events. It's probably in the More tab, and then you'll see the events coming up. And there's more to come for this local area where I am in Listowel, Ontario. I have some events coming up that are in person. So even if you're in this area and you can come to this area to meet me and paint with me in person, that would be awesome too. So stay tuned for that. It's in the process and will be posted very soon. So thanks again. Please be sure to share your pictures, leave a review if you feel called. And thank you again for joining me. And take care and have a good evening and a good weekend and a happy Father's Day weekend too. Okay, well, bye. You too. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.